Welcome into another episode of Red Zone Talk. I am Owen Burke, joined alongside by Tim Hunt for episode 14. Tim, how you doing today?
Good, man. Good. Ready to talk some football, you know?
Ready to talk some football per usual. I have this dumb smile on my face because I almost said welcome to Dick's Sporting Goods as we have for the intro.
Wel-
But
Welcome to
it's,
Dick's Sporting Goods.
yeah, my intro,
Me,
my instincts kicked in for a sec, but we got some football to talk about today, folks. Got the return of the bottom line today. I will see if I'm going to pull the Stone Cold accent out or not. I'm still not as 100% confident in it as I thought I was, but I might give you a couple. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
okay.
All right. What do you want to jump into some trivia, or you want to?
Yeah, make sure you follow us on social media here. TikTok page is still broken. I know we said we tried to fix it last time, but when I went to edit it, it didn't take the username and then glitched us back out and locked us out for another 30 days. So the TikTok page is still messed up, but my link tree is updated on our Instagram, and it has everything except Owen's Twitter in there.
Yeah, I
Um,
need you to give me that so I can put it in my Twitter bio for you.
yeah.
Just put it
Um,
everywhere.
But yeah, Instagram is at Red Zone Talk, at Red Zone Talk on Instagram, and then at Red Zone Talk Pod on YouTube. So make sure you're following us on other social media forums to kind of get more content, keep up with the latest episodes, everything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
that's all I got.
Yeah, feel free to give us a shout. You want to tell your buddies at work, you want to throw it on your Snapchat for us. We greatly appreciate any of that stuff. We'll take any bit of viral marketing we can get. So feel free.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt our feelings by telling people about us. So, what do you got for trivia for me this week?
Yeah, so we got a fun list here.
Ooh,
I'm gonna have you name me. I'm gonna ask for 10 for your full points, but I'm gonna open it up to the top 20. There's some repeat names on here, and
okay.
we're not gonna count the repeat names here. But
Good.
the single season highest completion percentage.
Oh,
So,
shit.
so top 20 guys with the single season highest completion percentage. It's been a hot topic here lately. Not a lot of guys with high completion percentage, so
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting one. So I am going to give you the standard. I'm going to give you 3 strikes and 2 hints here,
Okay.
and I'm only looking for 10 out of like the 15 or so.
15 names or so. Man, I wish you
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, it's
wish you
more
would
than
have
10
just
names.
I wish you would have given me some duplicates. I could have said Drew Brees 6 times and probably just racked up the points. But
Points.
your
Yeah.
camera's going sideways on you already. I will start with
Is it?
Drew Brees. I know he's up there. So
Drew Brees is here. He's the top 3 seasons. I am gonna fix my camera real quick.
all good. I'll sit here and brainstorm.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
I love
man,
that. I bought this damn camera because it had such great reviews, and here we are in the midst of it.
I was
Oh,
like, whatever you did when we were off air, fucking
yeah.
worked
That's
perfectly.
that's all I did was just zoom it in and then zoom it back out, and then it fixed itself. But this
You might
time,
leave it zoomed in for a second longer because it looked like it was focusing and then it stopped. It's trying. It's trying to
it's
figure it
trying.
out.
It's trying. It wants to so bad.
Thomas Edward Brady's got to be here, right? At least one season in there.
Let me double check. I don't believe so.
Oh my
Tom
God,
Brady is not here. He is outside the top 20.
that's
Um,
heartbreaking.
just for context here, by the way, for Drew Brees, for your answer, Drew Brees has the first, second, third, the fifth slot, the eighth slot,
It's half the top
and
10,
then he has the 21st slot as well. So
just
he is
off.
he is all over the map. But yeah, he's got 5 of these slots. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I was expecting that for sure.
See why now I had to expand it out just for that guy alone right there. He takes up 5 slots here.
Yeah. Can I? I'm gonna burn a hint since I burned a strike already. You'd think, come on, Tom. Fucking 38 years in the
Yeah,
league, you couldn't fucking peek into the top 21s for me.
kind of shocking that Tom Brady isn't even in the top 30 of this list.
What the?
Yeah, yeah, pretty wild here. Far as active players go, we have 5, 6, 7, 8 more active players that you haven't named. So the list is
Okay.
fairly recent here.
That's what I was kind of figuring. A lot of post 2000 guys.
Yeah, mainly it's pretty much all post 2000. There's a couple of guys, two guys exactly. Oh no, three guys, excuse me, exactly that are the pre 2000 category.
Okay.
Um, I will say one of these guys post 2000 is kind of a one off guy. I was kind of shocked to see him here. But the rest of them are all very notable names. Even one of the older guys is very notable here. So, um,
I have an out of pocket guess. Um, well, not out of pocket, and I'm
oh,
not.
the
It's
other,
not an official guess. I'm not going to burn it this
mm,
early. Andrew Luck comes to my mind for some reason in his short stint, but I'm not going to go there yet. Um,
yeah. The other hint I was going to give you, part of that active guy list here, they are all starters.
okay, all current day
So
starters.
yeah, all current day one starters. Man, I cannot get this to hold for some reason.
That is frustrating. Man, is Aaron Rodgers here? Got to be up there, right? The
Aaron
gunslinger.
Rodgers is here.
Okay,
Aaron Rodgers holds the sixth slot, so
okay.
highest active guy on the list.
Peaked at one. Okay, highest active guy, which means our guy at 4 is non-active. Is our number 4 guy a post 2000 guy? Just out of curiosity,
Our number four guy is a post 2000
is a
guy.
post
He's the guy
2000
who's
but non-active.
yeah not active, and he was kind of the outlier in this scenario. I wonder if I turn this light off if that'll help. Nah, it just kind of made the light situation weird and not focused on me. That's a
Kind of
little
made it
weird.
worse. It's so dumb because it never does this when we're off the air. It only
No,
starts to
we will
unfocus when
we will
once we're
sit and
live.
talk for 30 minutes and it'll be fine, and then we get on here and it fucking is a goddamn disaster.
This is a tough one this week. The single season lists are difficult because you're just trying to pick good years out of guys. Again, like the fact that Tom Brady's not on this list is insanity to me.
Lean into the active guys. There's so many active guys on this list that I'm kind of shocked you're struggling.
I think he might peak onto this. What's the bottom? What's the bottom qualifying completion percentage? Can I ask that?
70.1 um is 20. The only guy that's in the 70s that's not here is Drew Brees at 21.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a little bit more help here. We have one, two, three, four guys that are for, you already guessed him, five guys that are post 2020 even. So like
Okay. That the
very,
season's
very,
happened.
very recent. Yes.
I
Yeah.
feel like Lamar Jackson's here. If he's not here, he will be at the end. It feels like a risky second guess with a strike already, but I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson is here. He is tied
Okay.
for 13 at 70.3 in 2023. So
He'll probably nab another top 20 spot after this year, if I had to guess. I'm pretty sure his numbers are up there so far. Um, Man, so completion who's dumping the ball awful lot. Should I think check down merchant? Should I think a guy that just fucking chucks it down underneath? Is that gonna help me at all? Or no.
yeah, yes and no. Like
Is
not
Joe
not
Burrow here?
necessarily.
Joe
Joe Burrow is
Shiesty.
here. Yes, Joe Burrow is tied for 11th at 70.4.
Okay, I figured. Check down merchant himself. Um, uh,
And then I would argue the rest of these quarterbacks that are active that we're looking for would be in the accurate quarterback category. Not necessarily guys that are going to throw it downfield, but like definitely you think of pocket passers with that are accurate.
Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins here.
Kirk Cousins is 20. He is also here.
Squeaked
He
it.
he squeaks in here.
Take it. Um, Man, there's another guess that came to my head and I lost it. I'm gonna guess Peyton Manning too. He might bite me like Tom did, but come on,
Peyton Manning
Peyton.
unfortunately did not make this list. He is also off.
Fucking fuck.
I'm looking for both of them. Tom Brady is all the way down at 40 and Peyton Manning's at 46. Um, it's obviously tight margins. Like 40, Tom Brady had a year that was 68.9. So that minute difference is what held him back
It's like
there.
10, 15 completions at best of 400. Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh, God. Oh, Baker Mayfield was the other. That's not an official guess. That was the other name that came to my head. Not gonna
Okay.
throw that out there yet. Um, Probably a horrible guess. I'm thinking of his college accuracy, but um, man, there's some game managers that are coming to my head, but of course I'm thinking of non-active guys. Uh,
Mm.
I'm trying to think. Is Jalen Hurts here? Jalen Hurts peak on? I should not be guessing this shorter careers with two strikes. I might have just thrown myself out of this thing.
Jalen Hurts is not here. He
Fucking,
is
that
in
was a
the
dumb guess.
40 category with 68.9. Yeah, I think this is
Fuck.
your classic kind of overthought it a little bit here.
Yeah, 100%.
So
Yeah,
Drew Brees is 1 through 3. Sam Bradford is at the 4 slot, 71.6. He's your outlier guy, just not a guy that I ever would have thought would have been on this list. He did it his year in Minnesota too, like a kind of an odd year.
hmm.
Um, Drew Brees is at the 5. Aaron Rodgers is at the 6. Dak Prescott is tied for 6 as well.
He came to my
Um,
head and I just didn't fucking guess him. God damn it.
yeah, pretty accurate guy. Drew Brees at 8 again. Ken Anderson is one of the pre-2000s guy.
Hmm.
Little shocked to see his name on here. Drew Brees is again at 10. 11, you got Joe Burrow. Derek Carr also tied for 11. That was
Wouldn't
a
have.
one I was kind of shocked that you didn't throw out there.
Yeah, wouldn't
Um,
have.
Sammy Baugh at 13 in
How about it?
1945. Not a name, but then you have Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen was here for
Definitely
doing
wouldn't
it
have came to my
last year.
head. Definitely wouldn't have came
Tied
to my
with
head.
Lamar. Steve Young is one of the pre 2000 guys. Ryan Tannehill also tied in this 13 category here.
He came to
Um,
my head, but I was like, man, that's just.
yeah, kind of game manager, accurate quarterback there. And then at
Tell me Alex
18,
Smith is not here.
out- he is not here. Nope.
Okay, thank God. That would have been another guess I had.
Yep, we have Deshaun Watson at 18 for the 2020 season in Houston. Joe
Another guy that came.
Montana is our last guy pre 2000 at 1989, and then Kirk Cousins is the 20 spot. So um, Alex
Yeah.
Smith does not crack the top 40 here, which
Surprised
is
by
kind of
that.
shocking. But
Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
the list definitely gets a little goofy. Tony Romo's 22. Matt Ryan's tied for him at 22. Geno Smith last year got himself in the top 25.
He was the name
Carson
that came in
Wentz
my
is
head.
here. And I was like shocked Carson Wentz was that high up there. So, but yeah, some guys that, I was kind of hoping the active guys would help you out a little bit more. So,
Yeah, and of course I burned two of my three strikes on retired guys. So
yeah, that was the
love
the
to see
majority
it.
of the list being, post 2000. How many did you get right there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correct
5.
by my count.
So that puts you up to 270 points. You take a 50-point lead going into next week. So
You
we're
better strap in for trivia next week. I'm
that
bringing the
wasn't even that
hammer.
hard of a list. You're acting
No,
like
but
I
I'm
fucking
just
pulled
I've
something
got to
deep out there.
I've got to guard the lead now. I can't give you an easy one that you're going to get 10 on again.
Listen, I didn't go Patriots all-time tackle leaders post 2000 like
Yeah.
with 95 qualifiers on it. I gave you
Yeah.
just a flat list here.
Yeah. You're getting maybe the top 10 rushers from the 1974 season. That's what you're
Yeah,
getting next
exactly.
week.
I'm over here like, "What? Huh?" Like I thought this one would be Drew Brees was the good get. Like I was worried. I was like, man, if he doesn't get Drew Brees, that's just
No,
embarrassing.
I'm a Drew Brees guy. I definitely was the first guy that came to my head. I'm a massive Drew Brees fan, so that one definitely was going to be the easy one. But
All right. You ready to do bottom line here?
yeah, I am. I think I am ready to do bottom line.
Okay, let's hit it.
All right, it's time to get to the bottom line here, folks. We got a couple teams to talk about today. Couple people to get to the bottom line of. We're gonna start none other than with the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott, and previously Ken Dorsey as well. Um, Obviously, Ken Dorsey was fired on Tuesday this last week after the Monday Night Football loss to the Broncos on a game-winning field goal. I'm gonna just jump straight to the bottom line, and we can talk about it. Ken Dorsey was not the issue with the Buffalo Bills. If you want to call him part of the issue, I'm all for it. I'm okay with. I don't think anybody is blame free when it comes to football. It's the team sport, right? Everybody has a hand in this. But just to look at some numbers from defensive coach Sean McDermott and Ken Dorsey's offense this year alone, and I should have probably looked at some numbers last year. They were seventh in yards per game. They were eighth in scoring offense. Josh Allen's only been sacked 12 times, which is second to last in the league. He has under 100 yards lost on sacks. Definitely, obviously, a tribute to him being mobile behind the league. Here's one issue: third in picks. He has thrown 11 picks. He's almost thrown as many picks as he's been sacked this year, which is not a good thing when you've been sacked 13 times through 10 weeks in football. Um, Ken Dorsey wasn't the issue. I am kind of excited. I know you're probably a little excited because you are a Joe Brady guy. It's been
Yes.
well documented that he's going to be taking over the OC candidate or the OC job for the rest of the year. Um, Here's some other numbers for you, right? Ken Dorsey had a top 10 offense, right? Outside of the turnovers, this offense was producing at a decent clip, but the turnovers was really where they were kind of struggling at. Ken Dorsey has no effect over whether Josh Allen throws 12 interceptions or not. That's not much Ken Dorsey can do with where Josh Allen throws the football. As far as Sean McDermott and his defense goes, 17th in yards allowed, 21st in the pass, 19 in the rush. All right, you're a defensive head coach. I know that you're down Tre'Davious White for the second year in 5 years, but the defense hasn't been performing well. You had 12 guys on the field on Will Lutz's first kick. That's a special teams error that cost them that game, right? They have 11 guys on the field. They win that game by one, right? That's Will Lutz doesn't get a second shot at the kick 5 yards closer. They win the game. It's as simple as that. Josh Allen has nothing to do with that. Neither does Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey damn doesn't sure have a role in how many guys are trotting out there for special teams. So the bottom line with Sean McDermott is I think he's on the hot seat at this point. This is a team that personally I think he probably should have been on the hot seat before the start of the year. Because again, it's not about wins and losses really when it comes to head coaches. It's about expectation versus reality. And the expectation for the Buffalo Bills was we need to be competing for a Super Bowl. We need to be in the AFC title game or something insane took us out in the divisional round, right? We need a deep playoff run for us to feel like we've done anywhere close to what we want to accomplish. This team is 5-5, and they are a far cry away from making it back to the AFC title game. And guess what? We thought that last year was the year the Chiefs weren't going to be the Chiefs. This is the year that if there's a year that Kansas City hasn't been Kansas City, it's right now. It's not that they've
It's
been
hard to
bad
argue
by any.
that when they're first in the AFC, but yeah, I get
Yeah,
what you're
it's
saying.
it's it's not that they've been bad, but they are not the world beaters that they were 2 years ago, right? This
It's like
isn't the
they're definitely
team.
more this is the most beatable they've ever been for
Yeah,
sure.
100% right. And this is a year that you need to be capitalizing on that fact, not scrambling trying to figure out why you're 5-5 and losing to a Denver Broncos team that was the worst offense in the NFL last year, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
Sean Payton has a bit to do there,
I mean
but
I mean, definitely you can't argue like the stats don't necessarily show the decline that we've seen in Josh Allen since
mhm,
Brian Daboll left. Like Ken Dorsey taking over, um, Josh Allen was an MVP candidate with Brian Daboll, and he really hasn't been that with Ken Dorsey. The
no,
numbers are around the same. It's just the way that he's playing it definitely isn't there.
yeah,
A little increase in interceptions, but nothing like too insane last year. But yeah, I mean, just honestly a disappointing look out of Josh Allen. I think that's the easiest reason for Ken Dorsey to get fired, right? Is Josh
mhm,
Allen is definitely worse than he was 2 years ago. There's no doubt
100%.
about it. With Brian Dayball's last season, like he looked really, really good. Now he's looked worse.
And yeah, and
I'm
you
like
remember
the
we talked.
biggest
Sorry,
oh go
you
ahead.
talked about it. Remember, like week 3, you're like Josh Allen, or week 4 or 5, you were like Josh Allen's the leader for the MVP, and I was shocked. I was like, well, how? What are we talking about? This
Yeah.
guy has not been playing great football. We're 5 weeks down the road from that conversation. He's still not playing great football.
I
But
mean, he had turned it on like that was yeah early. I think that was after they beat the Dolphins. I think.
yeah, after the Dolphins
because
dropped
he had
78.
turned it on and everyone was like, okay, maybe he's turning the corner. That's why he became the favorite betting odds. That's why that was that conversation. But
Yeah,
um, if there was a situation that you were going to fire your offensive coordinator, it would be this one, right? So the obviously the big decrease in play out of your quarterback, and then you have more than a capable guy waiting in the wings to become your OC, right? Like if
fair.
this was, I don't know, the Patriots, for example, right? I don't love firing your OC when you don't have a guy that you feel good about waiting in the wings. Joe Brady is that guy. If there is somebody who's going to help Josh Allen's play, it is going to be Joe Brady.
Fair.
He obviously has some responsibility being the quarterback's coach, but he's not the one calling the plays, right? And now that he's going to take over the play calling responsibilities, um, it'll be his time to shine and maybe not push Josh Allen in situations where he has to kind of stretch it out.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know Joe Brady's resume, he was the offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow at LSU when they won that national championship game. He was the OC in Carolina for a year and a half, I want to say, something like that. Sam Darnold got off to that hot start, and then it obviously all went south. But everything that I've read about that, him and Matt Rule just didn't get along.
Yeah.
Different guys. Like Joe Brady is a pass first, run second kind of guy. Matt Rule is the exact opposite of that.
Power
Um,
offense. Yeah.
power, physical power offense where Joe Brady's a guy who likes to sling the rock, right? So
Yeah. Well, I'm curious
I
to
like,
see, right? You're putting the ball
yeah,
in Allen's hands, right, to be the gunslinger. So I'm
yeah,
curious, like the offensive numbers can tick up, but I truly think for this team to go anywhere, he's got to cut the turnovers down. You just cannot,
yeah,
especially when you don't have a top of the line defense, right? Like now, if they had their top 10 defense like they've had in the last 2 years, that's why they've been able to get over those humps because you can give the ball away a couple times, maybe once, twice, even 3 times a game and come out because you have a good defense. They're ranked about 20th overall in defense, right? This is not the unit that it used to be.
yeah. Well, and I think the biggest thing that I think Joe Brady, again, I'm doing a lot of presuming here. I'm a big Joe Brady believer.
Mhm.
Joe Brady is great at highlighting a wide receiver, right? In Carolina, it was Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson, those first 4 games, was going insane.
Yeah. He's gotten
I
like 4 second
expect,
chances off those 4 games.
yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd say that. More off the LSU season, but I mean, he was a quarterback's coach after he
No, no, no. I'm
retired.
saying Robbie Anderson has gotten
Oh,
like four
Robbie Anderson.
chances.
True,
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
He's still getting contract. He got waived today again, but he'll probably be
did
on a
he?
roster again. Yeah, the Miami cut him.
Um, but the point I was trying to make there is he's really good at taking somebody who's really talented at the wide receiver position, right? Jamar at LSU, and elevating him. So I expect Diggs to play a bigger role in this offense, right? That's been a big talking point, a big boiling point for this team is how much Diggs
Yeah.
is upset. And I think if there's anyone who's going to be able to fix that, it's Joe Brady. He's going to scheme Stephon Diggs open. It's going to move the ball further down the field. They're not going to be in these longer positions, hopefully anymore,
Yeah.
where it's, 3rd and 20 and they're going to be able to make those mistakes. So,
Hopefully he can get Gabe Davis to be a little bit more consistent. I think some consistency outside of Diggs. Diggs got strapped
yeah,
up on Monday night. Like there's no way around it. Patriots has kind of struggled a bit this season. Monday he was in prime form, right? Stephon Diggs got cut out of the game plan by Pat Surtain on Monday night. So a little bit more consistency um out of Gabe
Gabe
Davis,
Davis.
and then
Yeah.
got to get the tight ends involved, right? We spent a second round pick on Dalton Kincaid. I still have Dawson Knox here, right? So it's time to get. I think as much as it's getting Diggs back on track, it's about hey, we cannot rely on Stephon Diggs as much as we did, right? Because we saw it Monday night when he's out of the game, their offense not only sputters, it stops. They
Yeah.
cannot really move the ball without him being a dominant force. So I think that to me should be the focus of Joe Brady. Yes, making sure that Diggs doesn't get held out of games like that, but also when it happens, the 2, 3, 4 times a year that because it's not like it's void of talent, right? We're not sitting here thinking who else are they going to throw to. Gabe Davis has had his games. I'm not going to sit here and act like he's some great top 2 receiver because he can't do it
He's a good
consistently.
two.
Yeah, like
Yeah, he's a good two.
I'm not going to say he's a great 2 because to be a great 2, you have to be consistent, and that's the one thing that Gabe Davis cannot do to save his goddamn life. And again, tight end, it's not like he's thrown to Tommy Trimble and Irv Smith Jr. They have a second round pick that they just drafted and Dawson Knox, who's a top 10 tight end in this game. So Got to get the ball moving a little bit more. And I can understand the Ken Dorsey firing because you feel like you need some change. And you're obviously, Sean McDermott's on the hot seat. He is not on the hot seat enough to be fired mid-season. But I do think that that's going to be a move that pays more dividends for them going forward. But I think with this move, they probably keep Sean McDermott next year at this point. I don't think they have a. I don't think they're going to
If
move
they
Joe
miss the
Brady straight
playoffs,
up.
I think if they miss the playoffs, I think he gets fired. I really do.
And it depends on who's available as well, right? If they're really enticed by somebody that's out there, Brian Flores comes in. I don't know if you want another defensive head coach or not.
Probably
Um,
not. Bring Dayball
but
back.
yeah,
Giants will can him.
I they better not. The Giants would be making a generational mistake by letting Brian Dable out of their building. All right, like
It's the Giants. What do you expect them to do? That's all they
I
can do.
agree. Yeah, 100%. We're going to talk about teams that are generationally made those mistakes at head coaching next, but yeah, the hey, let's straddle Brian Dable with Daniel Jones for 3 years and then be upset when it doesn't work, whatever. So, the bottom line, Sean McDermott, you're playing for your job at this point, and you better hope that Joe Brady lives up to Tim's expectations, or you might be in the carousel yourself this offseason. So, let's talk about our next team here. You ready?
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're good. It's time to talk. Get it in there a couple times. It's
Yeah.
time to talk about Mark Davis and the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, because you want to talk about a team that struggled at head coach in their time frame, and especially as of late. They have a chance to mess this up all over again when it comes to the off season. Mark Davis and the Raiders. All right. Now, unless you are able to get a Brian Flores, an established guy that can come in and do these things, which I don't know if the Raiders are going to be at the top of Brian Flores' list or whoever else is available, just keep Antonio Pierce. All right. I do think that he's gonna be limit tested the next couple weeks because they have Miami this week. I think they have Kansas City the week after, and I think it's another pretty solid offense in 3 weeks. Right? They beat the Packers and the Giants. If my memory serves me correct. Not a lot of great teams that they've beat in this 2-0 run since he's taken over as head coach, but we have seen this move bite them in the ass in the past. All right. So when you look at the Raiders head coaching as of late, if you go back some years, Dennis Allen and I always want to say Tony Sperano, coached there for quite a few years. They were a combined 11-37 in their back-to-back tenures there. They finally found some stability with Jack Del Rio, right? I think they were 25-23 under Del Rio. Not terrible, pretty good for the Raiders, all things considered. Made a playoff game, lost it. And then, right, they go to splash moves. Time to bring in John Gruden. Obviously, things happen off the field. But again, it was a 10-year, $100 million contract, right? And he was coming, correct me if I'm wrong, he was coming from a broadcast booth, right? This wasn't a guy that
Correct.
was
Yeah, he
active
was coming
coaching.
from Monday Night Football. Yeah.
I don't ever really love the move to bring a guy out of the booth and throw him back into the game. I definitely don't like giving that guy a 10-year contract when he's been out of football for a couple of years. Things happen. Gruden burns him in the ass. In comes his replacement, right? Help me with the pronunciation of his name. Rich. What
Rich
is his last
Bisacci.
name? Bisacci. Rich Bisacci. How do you know that so well? Out of
I don't know.
curiosity.
I don't
Just
know.
just claimed it. Fair enough.
Coaches and quarterbacks, man, they're just up here.
Rich Bisacci comes in, takes that team with the second half of the season. They go 7-5. They make the playoffs again for the first time in 5 or 6 years since Del Rio made it. They lose that playoff game, obviously, but he was a fan in the locker room after going 7-5, and they decide, you know what? We didn't learn our lessons from the last splash move we made, right? Let's go get the guy that failed in our division in Denver the last time he was a head coach. Let's go splash and get Josh McDaniels, all right? Who was really good when they were allowed to spy on practices until week 8. They cracked down on him, and then all of a sudden they weren't that great
I
anymore, right?
skipped over the Hugh Jackson year. I was like, man, I swear Hugh Jackson was the head coach there for a single
Wasn't he?
season. He
Was he
definitely was.
before Dennis Allen? Was he before this? He
Mm,
went 8-8. I don't know why you wouldn't kept him. He must have got a better job.
no, he went to be the Cincinnati Bengals AB
Yeah,
or assistant coach. Sorry. I don't know. I don't know.
I thought he was before Dennis Allen. I could be wrong.
I
Anyways,
mean, he was
right?
2010 or 2011. He was. Oh yeah, he must have been before because he was after Tom Cable.
Splash down with McDaniels. Horrible failure. We didn't even wait 8 games to get rid of McDaniel. Or no. Yeah, McDaniels was the head coach last year, right? In
McDaniels.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Last
yeah.
year. Yeah.
A year and a half. We didn't even get to the 8 game mark before, or we were right at about the 8 game mark. Gets canned. Antonio Pierce has come in. And the biggest thing to me, and I get, they haven't beaten anybody great. They've beaten the Giants, and I believe it was the Packers. This team believes, right? This is the first inspired bit of football I've seen out of the Vegas Raiders since the horrible ending to the Patriots Raiders game last year when Chandler Jones took it to the house, right? So last time I saw some heart out of the Las Vegas Raiders was that game. I've seen heart the last 2 games, right? That is an immediate change, all right? And again, haven't beaten anybody great. They don't have Derek Carr, right? This isn't a guy that came in and took Derek Carr and now they're finally winning games with Derek Carr. They've got a 4th round rookie back there. Aiden O'Connell has looked pretty good in that Vegas system, and they're 2-0. I couldn't tell you the last time they had a 2 game winning streak. They probably never had a 2 game winning streak under McDaniels. I'd go out on a limb and possibly say that. And that's not a hard thing to do to win in back to back weeks. This team's playing with heart. The players love him. He fits that, I think, the mentality of what that team wants to be. They want to be the villains. They're dressed for it. The pirate, the all black, the silver. It's a menacing team. And I think he exudes that. And I think they messed up last time by not keeping the last interim guy that came in and succeeded. Stop going for splashdowns. Try to promote within for once in your goddamn life. And I think they're going to be forced to, because the story was last year they didn't have the cash to fire McDaniels. They physically could not afford to fire McDaniels. So now paying for Gruden and McDaniels, I don't think they have enough money to go out and splash down Brian Flores or whoever the big signing's going to be. Keep Antonio Pierce and just get a culture change in Vegas. This team has really almost never had a culture. They haven't had a culture since the Tuck rule. It is time to get some stability and just a presence in that locker room. And I think Antonio Pierce is that guy. Now, could we see some horrible football in the next couple weeks from these guys? Yeah, the schedule gets tougher, right? But there are worse guys out there, in my opinion. Hold on to Antonio Pierce.
I think he's very much a Mike Brable type coach to me.
Yeah,
I think he'll send a
he's a
strong
coach.
message to the players. He's
He's
a
a
player's
player's
coach.
coach.
Yeah,
Exactly.
obviously he played in the NFL. He's a guy I like a lot. So I have no issue. Maybe I don't sign him to like a 10-year deal or something crazy like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I'd give him a shot. I think there's no reason at this point not to. The only thing that scares me is he's a defensive guy. So and with defensive guys, we talk about it all the time. The OCs get hired away and the teams typically start to struggle. And
Buffalo
that's
Bills.
Buffalo Bills. We just talked about one,
Yep.
right? So it's the only thing I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think he's a heck of a lot better of a head coach than McDaniels is, and I think he deserves a shot for sure.
Yeah. What if they just amend McDaniel's contract, make him the OC, and Antonio Pierce is the head coach next year? Like,
Something
hey,
tells me he might not be willing
they
to do
might not
that.
go. Well, I mean, as much as I would agree with you, I'm like, hey, you're already under contract. I know we fired you, but like, we'll just go back to your contract. You'll get head coach money to be our OC. Just fucking stick around for a couple
He gets
games.
that money. You know that, right?
What do you? Yeah, I know he does. I know
Yeah,
he gets
yeah.
all the money, so he's probably going to go make more money elsewhere back in New England.
Yeah, like I'm sure maybe not New England.
Your nightmare scenario is that Bill leaves and you make him your head coach and he sucks enough for you too.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be him. I'm convinced it's not going to be
I'm
him.
praying to God for your sake that it's not him.
I've read the
But
list. I will get into that, but
yeah, we are
I've
going to
got
get
my
into it later.
I've got a list of guys that I think are legit candidates to be the coach. So
We are going to get into it later. We're going to get into it right now. All right. Exactly. Because our third and final bottom line today is going to be Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Firstly, obviously, I know the Patriots have struggled this year. It is no news to anybody. I will say it is news that they are 2-8. I saw that last week and I was like, holy shit. Like, I know you guys were struggling, but goddamn,
Yeah,
that's a different level of struggle. Holy hell.
yeah.
Um,
What do you think I've been making that up when we were talking about them having a top 5 pick all week? Like
no, 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 no. Like I said, just to it when you put the record on it, you're like, oh my god, like it ain't 4-5, it ain't 3-7.
exactly.
Just sounds so much better than 2-8, right? Like 2-8 is
Yeah,
Chicago Bears stuff. All right, this is the New England goddamn Patriots, and that's the
yeah,
bottom line, folks. This isn't Chicago. This is fucking New England. All right.
yeah,
So to me, the bottom line is Bill Belichick. Say what you want. The coaching, whether he's going to enter the carousel, whether he's going to retire, whatever, he damn sure should not, by any stretch, be the GM and in control of the roster moves for the New England Patriots next year. All right. That's kind of my number one spot. I don't want to sit here and like make a bunch and a ton of excuses for Mac Jones because he has not played well. But I do not think it is fair for Mac Jones to be handed a Tom Brady roster and expected to produce the same results. Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. Nobody's Tom Brady. All right. You cannot hand this guy a bunch of twos and a couple slot receivers. And they didn't even hand him the top five defense and expect him to go out there and get you there just because he has Bill Belichick along for the ride, right? So kind of there for the first spot. This one I did want to kind of open up to you a little bit more to talk about
okay.
because where
Yeah, I mean,
where
I
are
have
you
lots of
sitting at? How
thoughts
do
and
you
feelings
feel?
here. So, I mean, let's talk about Belichick for a second here. I
Yeah, we
mean,
got time to
the re
ramble about your team here, so let's
yeah,
take advantage.
reports have already come out that, there's probably a trade in the works already that they're gonna either mutually part ways or he'll get traded. And that destination is pre-decided, is what the rumblings are. A lot of talks that it's gonna be Washington, that Washington's gonna move on from Ron Rivera, and they're gonna bring in Belichick.
Well, that should
Um,
happen regardless of whether Belichick lands there or not. But
yeah, so I think I don't think Belichick retires. I think that's the least likely outcome out of anything. Just because I think he's so close to the Don Shula record. I think he's 18 games away from Don Shula
yeah,
being the winningest coach of all time.
yeah, and
Um,
with how much of a historian he is, you want, which I didn't know up until last year when we talked about it, but he wants it.
yeah, he absolutely wants that record. So I think it's time to move on, right? Like I think the relationship with Brady it wore out and it didn't look pretty at the end. And I think Belichick's kind of doing the same thing to his relationship with the Patriots, right? This team is not good. And it's a lot his fault. He's picked the players, right? Um, and he just hasn't picked good players. So um, kind of on that front, yeah, I think Belichick moves on. I think he's coaching next year. I don't know. I can't guarantee it's for Washington, but I think a team like that makes sense. Somebody like that who has got like a good team in place that just needs, somebody to come in and kind of fix the situation. Um, Now let's talk about his replacements for a second. Everything I've read is their wish list is a pretty strong wish list, right? Um, I imagine they reach out to Tennessee and see if there's a trade package to bring Mike Brable back into New England. I think that one, I think that one's on the table. Um, the
Yeah,
other
with how they're
one that
playing.
yeah, and the other one that I read that I kind of liked was Brian Flores. Bring him back. Obviously an assistant in New England. I don't think they go outside of the New England tree. I
Definitely
really
not.
don't believe that. It's either going to be a former player or coach. Um, and then the other one that I heard, if the Giants move off of Brian Dayball, that Dayball, again, a New England guy, was the tight ends coach there for a long time. Maybe he gets brought back in, go with an offensive guy, kind of change the pace. The most realistic candidate that I think it's Gerard Mayo. I think it's a
Yeah.
guy inside the house that you bring in and promote him right up and then get him a general manager because, yeah, he's not going to pick the players anymore.
Yeah, and
Um,
I feel bad for Mayo because and it's nothing absolutely nothing against him or what he would do. I think that would be a letdown because I think there's a lot
mhm,
of proven Patriots guys like everybody you just named. I would much rather bring in than give Mayo a
yeah,
shot. But you can't blame him for wanting to go with the in-house guy. You probably save a bit of money that way. And if it
And
flops, it
honestly,
flops.
I see a world where any of those guys get hired as the OC and then they promote Mayo to the like play calling defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
So
because Bill
I
still
think
calls plays, doesn't he?
he does on defense. Yeah, I think so. Steven
I'm
might
pretty sure
call
he
plays.
does.
But regardless, yeah, I think that's kind of the outcome. I think is he'll get promoted to a higher spot and then try to be elevated from there because I think he'll ultimately be a head coach in the NFL. Um, and there's a lot of talks that Nick Casario would come back. Now, obviously, in the last couple weeks, that's changed a lot. He was
Where's
the
he at?
former. He is the Texans GM.
Oh yeah, gonna be hard to bring him back in.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, the report is like he always wanted to be the GM of the Patriots. Obviously, he was in charge of. It was like he was their head scout or something like that, VP of player personnel. Obviously, he didn't have final call over Bill, but obviously had a lot of influence in that room, and they let him walk. And he has done a great job in Houston. I was pretty critical of him the first couple of years because we were like, man, Rex Burkhead and Mark Ingram. There's a lot of weird signings going on there, but um, he's obviously done a great job as of recent. Bringing in CJ Stroud was the right decision.
Yep.
There was talks that might happen. I'm not fully convinced that that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, gonna be
I'm really
tough.
not. That he'd want to leave that gig because he looks like a king over there.
Yeah,
And
if he hadn't have jumped out to such great success, maybe.
yeah,
But
maybe.
I
Yeah,
mean,
if that team was on pace to go like win 4 games or something, win 6 games, maybe.
yeah,
But the pace
yeah,
that they're
and
on, yeah, they're
yeah,
a real contender.
yeah, and it's tough. It's uncharted waters for you guys, at least in the last 20 years, right? I mean, there wasn't a lot of great history before Tom Brady came around, but this is uncharted territory for just about everybody in our age group, right? This is
Yeah.
new waters for us outside of you being 3 or 4, right? Like,
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
so
if there's anything Robert Kraft does really well, it's hire a great coach because you look at who the coaches have been: Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Bill Parcells. Like Pete Carroll wasn't great in New England, but man, did he end up being a great coach a lot of other places.
yeah,
So
he was pretty damn good just about everywhere else.
yeah, so I would say like I'm hopeful that they hire the right candidate when the time does come.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem that you guys are facing is the roster that you have constructed, which is
Yeah,
all at Bill's hands. Like the fact that Tom Brady was able to win 7 Super Bowls with the rosters that he was handed outside of the defense is still amazing when you sit down and look at some of those offenses that he was trying out there with, right? Outside of Randy and a couple of the tight ends they had along the way and the slot receivers that were studs. But like all in all, not a lot of like star-studded offenses. When you look around the league at today's day, you look at Philly, and you look at Kansas City with Tyreek Hill and all these places, and then you look at every team that Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with. You're like, this guy was fucking kind of getting it done with just about nobody but Wes Welker and maybe a tight end, and Randy Moss for a year. So
yeah. The only
and
thing
I
I'll
think the
add
go ahead.
is whoever we bring in, Patriots are going to have the third most cap space in 2024 as it sits right now.
Yeah.
They're going to have $75 million in cap space, so plenty of room to kind of play around with
And I'm
and
sure they're
bring
probably
in
going to move
whoever they
off
want.
a couple big contracts along the way,
Like
depending on like Hunter Henry is a guy that comes to mind. Like I think Hunter Henry is good. He's great, honestly. But when if you start to have to penny pinch, if you guys really go that crazy, you're
he's not
not
under
well.
contract,
Okay,
but
well, the bottom line is honestly with 75 mil, you don't really need to move off any big contracts to make. If you're spending more than 75 mil in off season, you
yeah,
might need to reevaluate at that point. But the bottom line for the New England Patriots is they're struggling for the first time in 20 years, and it is at the hands of the greatest coach of all time. And it's not because of what he does off the field; it's because of what he does when he sits in front of his computer in the offseason. You know, um,
you want to know something funny?
what's that?
So the second largest contract in 2024 is JC Jackson's at $14.3 million. They can cut him with no penalty, and it would bump him up to $90 million in cap space. So
Jesus Christ!
There's a chance that something like that happens. There's
I
there's
mean,
gonna be some guys.
he won't play for you guys next year. He's probably going to be part of the Belichick trade that sends him out to Washington because Belichick's the only guy that can get him to play at a top 5 corner level,
Corner
apparently.
level, yeah.
But
He hasn't played very much for us this year. He hasn't been healthy.
yeah, but yeah, that's the bottom line for the Patriots is again, yeah, they're struggling and it is at the hands of Bill Belichick's decisions in the offseason right now. So, and I think again, the biggest thing again, Mac Jones had his ugliest pass of his career this last weekend. That
Yeah.
interception in the red zone was maybe one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen from a quarterback, truthfully. But again, when
I
you look
he's
at
the
the
he's a guy that'll get a second shot. I really think he'll go be a backup for a year or two and then go play for somebody else. I really
yeah,
think that's a possibility.
if it wasn't such a strong quarterback class, I think he'd probably be a starter right away again next year. Because again, I don't. This guy was drafted in the first round for a reason, and I think the other thing that might hold him out of a starting job, and if he doesn't get it in check, it might hold him out of that second or third chance. Is his attitude. Like he's got to
Yeah.
be an adult. Like you have got to fucking. You talk to
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick. Like
Bad
you have got to be a fucking
football guy.
a,
You got to be
a
about football and not about the other stuff. Like,
yep,
um,
yep.
and I think that's kind of where Mac Jones has gone awry. I think he'll be a backup for somebody. Be a quiet. He's the perfect guy to have be a backup, right? He's not going to bring attention. Fans aren't going to be chanting for him. You
I
can,
know where
like
he's
Justin
going.
Fields. Where do
I
you
got
think
the
he's
script.
going?
I got the script in my hand right now. The Jets are cutting Zach Wilson. He's going to go back up for Aaron Rodgers next year, and then he'll
It's kind
try
of
to
a
take the.
weird fit.
It's a super weird fit. I cannot
I think
imagine.
they go get a veteran. I think they get a guy.
You want to talk about a dream blunt rotation? Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. That's a fucking. That's a fucking party right
Jesus.
there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe they do something like that. They bring in Mac Jones and have him
I
be
don't know,
the heir
but
apparent eventually.
the other bottom line is let these fucking guys develop. All right. Peyton Manning was pretty damn bad his rookie year, right? Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love actually have pretty similar stats for the first 8 games of their career. You know,
I I kind of
everyone's talking
disagree with
about.
this argument. It's
Ev-
a bad argument.
you think so?
Yeah, these guys didn't play a lot. Like Peyton Manning didn't grow up playing 7-on-7 and didn't start all 4 years in high school and then start 3 years playing against the SEC and then the amount of reps that these guys get now are just insane. Like it's a whole nother level. And
Fair.
and so this argument of like we got to let guys develop, guys play more. Like the development time has already happened for a lot of these kids because now if you're a D1 quarterback, you're going to the Elite 11 camp, you're going to the Manning Throwing Academy, you're going to this, you're doing that. Like you don't really stop playing quarterback. And back in the day, you really did. So I think after
Where
3 or 4 years, you have a really good evaluation of what a guy is.
Yeah, and where I'm at also is where I was leading to is everyone talks about the Texans made the right call, CJ Stroud. Man, the Panthers must regret it. Let's be 110% honest here. The Texans, anyone who had that number one overall pick would have taken Bryce Young in that spot. Hindsight's 2020. I get it. CJ Stroud's played like an MVP candidate through 9 weeks, but I think where we were at in the draft season, I don't think there was that much of a question about who was going to go one, no matter who the guy was. Right? Give him some time. Right? Like I think Bryce Young. I'm not going to say he's going to come out and be some world beater. He's going to be fantastic, but like I definitely think a guy deserves more than 8 games. A guy that doesn't deserve more than what he's had so far is Zach Wilson. I think Robert Sala's got a gun to his head to keep Zach Wilson on the field because
I,
the Jets front office cannot live with the fact that they might have made a mistake at quarterback. Hey, you should be fucking used to it now. This is not the first time the Jets have fucked up at the quarterback spot. All right, like get over it. Bench him, cut him, get somebody else in the building. They have not scored a touchdown in 36 drives. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown in 11 quarters, almost 3 full games of football. The Jets have not been able to find the end zone on offense. All right. And it's not, again, it's a team sport. It's not all Zach Wilson's fault. He is damn sure not helping the issue in New York right now. So
I'm trying to find our mock draft real quick. I don't know
I'm going to
if
laugh.
we didn't.
The other thing that
I
we talked
I'm
Go ahead.
very confident though that I had CJ Stroud. Uh, I'm pretty confident I had CJ Stroud mocked to Carolina.
Oh,
I'm
there's a
pretty sure
difference.
I did.
We're fucking sitting here. We're not in an NFL front office. But
True, true. Yeah.
I
You're
will
not
say,
wrong.
I've been meaning to talk about this. I meant to talk about it after his first game winning drive. Fits just as well after his back to back second game winning drive. May be an all time quote, and it is an all time quote, in my opinion. CJ Stroud, how do you feel about your results of the cognition test? I'm not a test taker. I'm a football player. How fucking about it? Because
He
I
looks
think
like a
we're fucking
baller
watched.
now. It is.
Looks
It's pretty good.
that is to me that's got to be like one of the that's I wouldn't put it up there in like a Deion Sanders level because it's just not as quotable. But like as a
Yeah.
fucking one off, I'm not a test taker. I'm a football player, and to come out and play the way he has, it's fucking pretty
It's been a
sick.
good look.
Yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
you ready to run an outro to part 1 here?
I am.
There will be an episode 2 coming out this week, obviously. So we'll catch you guys on the second part there. We're gonna play our outro, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
And that's the bottom line. Why? Because old Stone Cold said so. Thank you very much, you son of a bitch.